Hi, this is Susan Broder from Speak Languages and Travel the World. I've just come back from my evening lessons, and I realized that there was a tricky subject that many of us, yes, have trouble explaining, and I'd like to help you understand that. The question is, when can I omit who, which, and that? So this is a question about relative clauses, and it often seems really tricky. And for years I spent time trying to find an easy way to explain it, and all of a sudden I came across it. So I thought I'd share it with you because I thought it would be useful for you to find an easy way to understand how to distinguish defining relative clauses from non-defining relative clauses. I'd really love to know how many of you are watching, so please put a comment where you're watching from so I know where you're watching from. I'd be really interested in finding out. Also because I'm normally do my lives at lunchtime for me. That's in, yes, so we're practically UTC or Central European time, so there's only an hour's difference. But this evening I'm doing it pretty late, and so I was curious to see if there are viewers from different parts of the world. Okay, so let me share with you a document that will make things a little bit easier for you to see. Here we are. Okay, so this document should clarify the point a little bit. If you could, well, maybe I should first explain what the difference is between defining relative clauses and non-defining relative clauses is. Defining relative clauses is when you say a sentence with a clause which you can't change. I mean, you absolutely must put all the information in. For example, here it says, I talked to the man who gave you the present. Now, that means, what kind of man was it? It was the man who gave me a present. And I can't just say I talked to the man and not say who gave me the present. Otherwise, I don't know which man I'm referring to. Or another example is, Peter is the boy I saw in the restaurant yesterday. I can't just say Peter is the boy because which boy? I'm talking about that specific one that was in the restaurant yesterday. Instead, the non-defining relative clauses are the ones where you give extra information. Instead of just saying he's the man, or let's go back to Peter. Instead of just saying Peter is the boy I saw in the restaurant yesterday, I could say Peter is the boy who is very young, working in the restaurant, and I saw him yesterday. So it's not really important to specify that he's very young. However, that's an extra piece of information, let's say. Even if I say Peter is the boy I saw in the restaurant yesterday and don't specify who is very young, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so in any case, that difference is not so important to what I want to explain now. What I really wanted to point out to you is what's written here. So there are two ways of looking at it. In the first box, I've written, I talked to a man, he gave you a present. So I talked to a man is the object of the first sentence, and he gave you a present is the subject of the next sentence. So as you can see here, I've highlighted the same with two arrows. When the subject is the same as the object, you can't omit the relative pronoun who, which, or that. So you must absolutely say, I talked to the man who gave you a present, and you can't say I talked to the man who he gave you a present. So that's very important. When the subject and the object are different, as you can see here in the two sentences, then you can't omit it. Instead, if you look in the box below, sorry, when they're the same, you can't omit it. I explained that wrong. It's written, however, the same. Instead, when you look at the box below, they're different. So Peter is the boy, and I saw him in the restaurant yesterday. So the boy and I are different. I'm not the boy, and therefore I can omit it. I can say Peter is the boy who I saw in the restaurant yesterday. Actually, in older grammar books, you'll find whom, but that's a little old-fashioned nowadays. Instead, you can also omit it. Peter is the boy I saw in the restaurant yesterday. Now, this kind of explanation is a little complicated. So recently, I realized that if a subject follows which, that, or who, you just leave it out, the which, that, or who. So let's have a look at the bottom. It says, Peter is the boy who I saw in the restaurant yesterday. And because it's I following the who, I don't need to say who. Peter is the boy I saw in the restaurant yesterday. Instead, in the sentence above, I talked to the man who gave you a present. Between who and gave, there's no pronoun, there's no name, there's nothing which indicates the subject, and therefore you must put it in. I talked to the man who gave you a present. There's no other choice. Whilst in the sentence below, Peter is the boy who I saw. After who there is I, so we can omit it. Okay, so it is a rather complicated subject, but if you observe, because now I haven't given you many examples, I don't want to make this too long, boring video, but if you observe, you'll notice always that when there is who followed by I, or followed by he, or followed by a name, then you don't need to put it in. So that's the easiest way to remember it. When who, which, or that is followed by a subject, you can forget it and you don't need to put it in, and it sounds much more natural like that too. Okay, I hope it wasn't too complicated. If you want further explanations, perhaps you could contact me. In fact, if you subscribe here, you'll be updated. But if you go down into the link below my video, in the box, you can not only download my free fluency exercises, but through that link you can contact me, and perhaps we can discuss if you have any questions. In any case, it would be really good if you could put some examples of sentences where you can or you can't omit this pronoun, sorry, the which, the that, and the who, so you know what we're talking about, and that way we can see if you've understood the explanation. That's a very nice idea, in fact. So please, sentences with or without who, that, and which, and let's see if you get them right. Okay, I think that's all for now, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow again. Okay, bye. See you again. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.